By the time this one would swell up a little bit more as it got perfectly ripe, usually about the size of a racquetball or so. And if we open them up here. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? I hope everybody out there is having a fantastic day. It is Friday, November 4th here in South Georgia. And on today's video, I want to give you a little update on our climbing beans back here. We just harvested a bunch of those, just shelled those. Want to show you just how much we got, kind of the productivity on those we're seeing so far. Then we're going to take a look at our fig starts in the greenhouse and show you some nice late production I'm still getting from some of these varieties out here. And then lastly, we've had a lot of people asking about an update on our worm bin or our little worm farm, so I want to show you that as well. So yesterday, these King of Garden lima beans were harvested for the first time. Now, I didn't harvest them. We've had a little flu bug running through our house. Seems to be pretty rampant, at least here in South Georgia. Abram's been out of school the later part of this week, and his teacher said there were only 10 kids here today. So it's pretty bad around here. Wasn't feeling that great yesterday. Thankfully, our babysitter who watches the boys in the afternoons usually, she didn't want to go inside the house and get flu as well. So she came out here and picked these King of Garden lima beans for the first time for me. And we got a nice 5-gallon bucket full of them. Now there are a few beans here on the outside of this arch panel trellis, but the majority of them are hanging down inside the arch panel trellis here, which is quite nice because you can stand in here and pick them in the shade. Now she picked all the ones that were filled out, but there's still a lot of them in here. You can see up there still a bunch left to fill out and harvest. So last night, Brooklyn and I and the boys all pitched in and got all those shelled. And this is what we got right here. Pretty good little yield from a first harvest. Usually with beans or peas, the second harvest is probably the best one. The first harvest can be kind of small, and the third harvest might be kind of small. But for the first harvest, I'm really happy here. So a whole gallon bag full, and then a little more than half a gallon bag. And by the time we put these in little quart freezer bags, which we don't fill completely, shoot, I imagine we'll get, I don't know, 6 or 8 bags in the freezer just from this amount right here. And I'll probably cook a few of these fresh, but most of these are going to go in the freezer so we can preserve the harvest. So with that many coming on the first harvest and several more harvests to come, I would guess that we'll probably end up getting somewhere between 20 and 30 bags of these nice big butter beans in the freezer from this one grow out here on the arch panel trellis. These things don't look like they're planning on slowing down anytime soon. I imagine the frost will kill them at some point towards the end of November, maybe early December, but looks like they're just going to keep producing up until whenever that happens. Now on that last video, we also picked about half a bucket full of what we're calling Tennessee purple peas here. And they look like they need picking again, but I told y'all we were going to try them for the first time for supper that night. So after that video, we cooked about this much for supper that night, and these things turned out to be really, really good. I had pretty high expectations of them because Richard said they were really good, and they certainly were quite tasty. So the taste profile on these kind of tastes like a cow pea, but I would say these taste a little more like a butter pea to me than something like a pink eye pea or a lighter colored field pea. So kind of a more nutty flavor on these. I like them a lot. I don't know if we'll cook these tonight or if I'll just go ahead and put these in the freezer. Got several more harvests to go, it looks like, on these, so might not get a lot in the freezer, but maybe we'll get, you know, 4 or 5 bags in the freezer. That way we can have some of these throughout the winter as well. So it's always good to be having some nice fresh veggies from the backyard grocery store, and even better to have some that you can put in the freezer for later. Now let's go inside the greenhouse here, show you the progress on some of our fig cuttings. So with the exception of those onions and a little leftover lettuce on the end there, things have gotten real figgy in the greenhouse lately. So I showed y'all several videos ago how this year I'm doing things a little bit different, starting out the cuttings in these little 2.5 inch pots, and then for the ones that take, we'll then step those up to those larger tree pots like you see back there. So I've been coming out here late in the evenings on days when I have time and trying to do at least one tray or one flat a day. Each of these flats holds 32 plants. So trying to knock out one a day. Some days I get 2 done, some days I don't get any done because I have other things come up. But my plan is to have all these going in here, all the varieties, as many as we're planning on doing, rooted by the end of this month, or by the end of November. So I'll show you what we've got done so far. So here we got 4 trays of brown turkey, and these were started at different times, so they're not all equally as far along. You can see some of the earlier ones there already have some nice leaves on them. Some of these back here just starting to pop, and some of these I did more recently aren't really showing any green buds yet, but should soon. Then we've got 4 trays of LSU Tiger over here, and these are looking really good. Not quite a complete 100% take rate on these, but I think we're going to be in the 80 to 90% range, which is certainly acceptable for me. Got this tray that we just started a few days ago, so not really seeing anything on it, but these other trays are looking pretty good so far. And then the latest variety we've been working on is what's in these 3 trays right here. This is a variety called Mary Lane Seedless, a really nice honey fig that grows really fast. Now I ran out of my wax tape that I use for the tops, and I haven't been able to find anything locally, so I'm just having to make do with some stuff I had. I've got some ordered, it'll be here next week, but we're just having to make do for right now. That's why you see some of them with red tape, some of them with the clear tape, and hopefully we can get back to just using the clear tape next week. So we have those 3 varieties going in the greenhouse right now. We'll have about 8 or 9 more varieties that we'll hopefully have before it's all over with. As you can see behind me here, I have lots of empty trays filled with soil. Going to be hopefully filling those up this weekend. Be busy in here doing a lot of fig starting. Now once I step these up from the smaller pots to the larger pots, I can pretty much, assure that they're going to survive at that point. Sometimes some of these varieties, they put on leaves and then they'll just die. Some varieties are a lot harder to propagate than others. But once we step them up to the larger plots or pots, we'll know our inventory much better. Then we can start posting them on our website so you guys can go ahead and start pre-ordering these things. I'll hopefully have them on the website by early next year, and then we'll start shipping them as soon as things warm up a little bit. Now back outside the greenhouse, thankfully we are getting some nice late production on some of these varieties out here. I told you many videos ago how my new irrigation system here was keeping these trees growing longer and giving us some nice late production windows. So let's walk around, see what varieties are still producing a little bit. I can show you those. That way you know what to expect if you end up getting one of these trees. So let's start out here at the front of this section of our fig orchard. This tree right here is a variety called Salem Dark, a really good fig, and I had a few trees of this available last year. Don't think I'm going to have any this year. I got some good growth to take cuttings from there, but I think I'm just going to use what little bit of growth I have there to multiply our herd, so to speak. So probably won't have this variety on the website this year. Hope to have a bunch on it the following year. So we're just going to let this tree grow out a little more so we can take more cuttings on it in future years. So skipping over to this row for just a minute, I want to show you this variety. This is one of the ones we have started in the greenhouse already. So this is Mary Lane Seedless. And what is unique about this one is its growth habit is different than most figs. So most figs want to kind of spread out like you see a lot of those trees are doing. This variety here tends to grow kind of straight up like you see there. Now, the good thing about figs is you can prune them to grow any kind of way you want them to grow. But naturally, this variety gets really tall. So I think this variety works really well if you're looking for a taller tree on your homestead. Maybe you want to set up like a privacy border or something like that. You could benefit from the height on this Mary Lane Seedless variety. Of course, as I mentioned, you don't have to let them get that tall. You can prune them back and let them spread out a little bit. But if you're wanting a taller tree, this may be the way to go. Skipping back over to this row, we've got this LSU Tiger tree here. Now I have a couple LSU Tiger trees, but this one is the largest and the one that had a significant amount of new growth on it from which we could take cuttings. So all those cuttings I showed you earlier have been taken from this tree. I don't want to take all the new growth off of there. I want to leave some. We want the trees to get slightly bigger and bigger every year, but this one has given us a lot of good cuttings so far. And even though we've cut on this tree a bunch already, we're still getting a little bit of late production from it. So you can see this fig here, you can see the little striations on it. That's why they call it LSU Tiger. If we open it up here, got a nice little sugar fig. See the inside of it there. That's perfect right there. Now the next one that we should have available come early next year is this variety here called Canadria. We had quite a few of these last year and hope to have even more this year. Really fast growing variety, and starting to get a little bit of late production on these as well. You can see they're loaded up in little patches like that right there. They start out looking, you know, kind of like a normal sized fig, and as they ripen they get pretty daggum big. Now I picked one of these a couple days ago that was just right. Now this one here is not quite perfectly ripe, but good enough for me, good enough to show you guys. So these get pretty big, as you can see here, bigger than a golf ball. By the time this one would swell up a little bit more as it got perfectly ripe, usually about the size of a racquetball or so. And if we open them up here, we can see the inside. Really nice color on those. So this is what's called a light berry fig. So you got a little bit of honey flavor in there in my opinion, and then got some berry flavor in there as well. This one's not quite as juicy as it would have been if I would have left it there, but hey, if you need a snack, you need a snack. And another variety that we hope to have available early next year would be this one behind me called Violet de Bordeaux. Now this one doesn't start producing quite as early as some of the other varieties like Canadria, but it's well worth the wait. So this is a really flavorful berry fig. The figs don't get quite as big as some of the other varieties. This one's pretty small. Some of the late figs on it are kind of small. The, you know, mid-season figs tend to be a little larger than this right here, but I'll show you the inside of it because they're really, really pretty. So you can see that deep color on those. Really good berry flavor on those. So if you're looking for a really nice berry fig, this one here has it all. And then moving on down the line here, we have one of our couple Generi trees. I've showed y'all these a bunch of times. This is the one that makes the really, really big fig. It's got a few there we need to pick. Got another one down there. So still getting a little bit of production off these, but I'm going to start taking cuttings on these pretty soon. We've gotten a lot of growth on these in the last year. So Generi is a late producing fig for us down here, but even later than Generi is this one behind me here called Olympian. So this is a variety that originated in Washington State, and it's supposed to be one of the most cold hardy fig varieties out there. I don't know exactly how cold hardy it is because I can't test it, but that's what they tell me. And you can see here, we're starting to get some nice ripe figs on there and some good late growth on this one. Now these don't produce for us until this time of year, you know, early to mid fall. We just kind of patiently wait, eat some of the other varieties, and then enjoy this one when it comes along. So you can see the inside of one of those there. I already ate the other half. Really, really sweet, really pretty. One of the best tasting figs out there in my opinion. Now I won't have a whole lot of these available. I'll get some cuttings off this tree here, but it's probably going to be one of my most limited varieties. We'll try to have a few available, especially for those of you who live up north and need a really cold hardy variety, but this one's probably going to go fast. Another variety that we hope to have, and that we hope to have quite a few trees of, would be this one here. These two trees are a variety called White Marcel. Now I don't have any ripe figs on this one at the moment. It produced a lot earlier in the year. So this is a honey fig with a yellow outside on it, and it's amazing how much this tree and that one there has grown this year. It didn't grow a whole lot in the first 2 years, but this year it just took off. You can see all that new growth on there. Then over here on the other side of the property, we've got a few more varieties. We've got LSU Gold right here behind me. We should have a good many trees for that variety. No ripe figs on this tree. At this point, it did all its production earlier in the year. There's a few green ones on there. I don't know if they'll have time to ripen or not, so I can't show you what one of the fruits look like on those. But it's a nice big honey fig, got a yellow exterior on it. Really, really tasty. Then we've got our LSU purple tree here, which I've yet to take any cuttings on, but I probably am this year. This tree finally took off, started growing a little bit. This variety here is just slow in the beginning. Once it gets going, it'll grow pretty good, but it just takes a few years for that to happen. But as is the case with most of these varieties, it's well worth the wait. Just know it's going to take you a few years to start getting some of these, and if you have room, you may want to plant a fast-growing variety beside one of these slower growing varieties. That way you'll have some early fig production in the first couple years while you're waiting on these. And then last but certainly not least, one of my favorites, which is Black Malta. This is a really good berry fig, and we were able to get a little bit of late production on this tree here. Most of the leaves have fallen at this point. I don't know if those figs right there will make it or not, but we got a decent amount of new growth, so we should be able to take quite a few cuttings. Now, the few Black Malta trees we had last year sold out really fast, and it's a variety that's in high demand. Unfortunately, it's also one of the hardest ones for me to propagate. I had the lowest success rate with Black Malta compared to any of the other varieties we propagated last year. But I'm hoping to have more than I had last year. Just going to have to be fast if you're really wanting one of these. So that's not every single variety that we hope to have available early next year, but that's most of them. And hopefully that gave you a good idea of what to expect with some of these varieties. So now let's check on our worm bin, which Chloe is keeping a close eye on, sitting right over there. And I think I've got something here they're gonna really like. So let's take the top off here, and hopefully y'all can see well. This shaded spot here doesn't have a whole lot of light. There we go. Lots of worms in there all over the place. Let's see, right here in the top, got some scraps we put down there a night or two ago. I put a whole, or I won't say a whole, a half a rotten pumpkin in here, and it was gone in just a matter of days. These things are multiplying like crazy. You can't scratch around really anywhere in here and not find worms. The top, we're starting to get some nice fine stuff, which is kind of what I'm looking for as far as worm castings go. Haven't harvested any castings out of here yet, but might not be long before we can screen this stuff and get some good castings out of here. I put all kind of stuff in here so far. I put a bunch of fish heads and fish guts in here. They tore that up. I really haven't found anything that they don't like. If we dig down more towards the bottom here, I think you'll see even more of them. Look at there. They're everywhere in there. Big old bundle of worms right there. Look at them all in the top there doing their thing. So I'm going to take all these butterbean hulls because I don't see any reason why these worms shouldn't like these things. Could put them in my compost bins, but mostly I've just been putting stuff like this in the worm bin lately, letting them tear it up. So I'll just spread this around evenly here. It should stay pretty moist with this soil in here and with the top on it there. Spread those out a little bit. Put our top back on, and hopefully they'll go to work on that pretty soon. So the bean harvests are bountiful, the fig propagation is going well, and our worms are doing really well over there in their little shaded spot. Not a whole lot to complain about around here right now, except for maybe that little flu bug that's working its way through here, but everybody's kind of on the up and up right now, so we'll be back in full swing shortly. Now, I haven't used any of the byproducts from the worm farm yet. I do have a couple jugs of the leachate, the liquid that has leached out of that little hole I drilled in the bottom there. I bought me a little aerator online. I'm going to bubble some of that up in the next few days and maybe try some different ways of using that. Maybe spray it directly on our plants, maybe inject some through the injector. Try a few different things. I'll be glad to share with you when we do that and how it worked. And as soon as they get that soil kind of munched over a little bit more, then we'll probably figure out a way to screen it and then get some castings out of there that we can use in our raised beds. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and as always, you can find links to our affiliate partners in the description below. Even got some coupon codes for some of those companies so you can take advantage of those discounts. Don't forget to go check out our website, lazydogfarm.com, where we've got hats, shirts, our garden blog, recipes, all kind of good stuff over there. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification button, like, and share, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.
Oh, farewell, by the beauty of your life.